This is the one about a different way to do a listing appointment. And I think the right way to do a listing appointment.
If you're a real estate agent or broker, this show is for you. Onion Juice is both a podcast and a movement designed to wake up and redefine the real estate industry. Here's your host, Neil Mathweg, for another stimulating episode of The Onion Juice. Let's join the movement now.
Welcome, Juicers. It's that time once again for the Onion Juice podcast on episode number 21. One of my favorite numbers, number 21. I'm your host, Neil Mathweg. Thank you so much for joining me on the Onion Juice. And in this episode, we are going to talk about the listing process that I talk about quite a bit. If you're a listener of the Onion Juice, you know what I'm talking about. This is the two-step listing process that I've used, I'd say for probably the last 3 years of my career. And it's been kind of my breakthrough. It was one of the things that I started doing. I was reluctant to do this when I first heard about this two-step listing process and asking questions, and it was hard for me to grasp this. It was hard for me to say, yep, this is what I want to do. And so this episode is not to cover what's in that 12-minute video. I don't want to do that. What I want to do is I want to tie this in with last week's episode with the power of being curious. So episode number 20, I talked about one of the ways that I discovered the power of curiosity or being curious is through this listing process. I learned that if I asked questions, that these questions would uncover things to help me set expectations to make sure that we had a great transaction. And it also created this bond between me and the seller. So it was really, really powerful. And that's when I started realizing that curiosity is so powerful in business and is so underplayed. And so that's why I did last week's episode, and that's why I'm excited about this week's episode, is to tie the two together. If you haven't already got the listing process, the two-step process that I'm going to talk about in this episode, and you don't have those questions that I ask when I go to listing appointment, you can simply text listing, the word listing, to 44222. Once again, text the word listing to 44222. And this is my new handy dandy texting system that I just got. So I'm super excited to try this out. And I have to thank my new sponsors, Nightberry Title. I'll tell you a little bit about them later on in the show. They because of their sponsorship, I'm able to get some new tools for the podcast. We got some exciting things coming up. But the first one is this new texting feature that I just got. So again, if you want these questions and you want to know what I'm talking about for the listing process, because I'm not going to repeat it in here. I'm just going to talk about the responses that I get from the answers or from the questions that I ask. But I'm not going to go over the whole process in detail. So if you want the detailed process, it's a 12-minute video along with a PDF. Just simply text the word listing to 44222. So often we go into listing appointments and we are all about ourselves. We go in and we say how great we are, and we show them we're number one here and our company is number one there, and we're really awesome. And this is what we're going to do to list and sell your house, and we're the best and you should list with us. And I really want you to throw that all out the window. Instead, I want you to think you should walk in the door with a list of questions, be curious, ask to sit at the table before you see the house, and ask these questions. Again, if you want these questions, just text the word listing to 44222. So really quick, here's the script of how it goes before I get to the house. What I'll do over the phone with them is I'll tell them that I'm gonna meet with them twice, and that I'm not gonna come to their house with a CMA in hand. I want to see their house first before I complete my research. And I let them know that if they're interviewing other agents, they should be aware that a lot of the agents are going to come with CMAs in hand, and they're going to tell you what your house is worth before they even see it. And I don't want to make that mistake. I want to make sure I do my due diligence. I want to see your house first. I want to complete my research, and then I want to give you my opinion of what I think it's worth. Is that okay with you? And sellers always are like, yes, that makes totally sense. Thank you for doing that. They feel like I'm going the extra mile, and it comes off really well. Then when I get to the house, I want to sit at the kitchen table first. A lot of times when we get to the house, the seller is like, you want to do a tour first or you want to sit at the kitchen table? I always want to sit at the kitchen table first, and it's very important. You should do the same exact thing. Get to the kitchen table, ask these questions, and set the expectations. Another rule that you want to keep in mind with these questions, don't use these questions to create a dialogue. You want to ask these questions, write down their answers, and keep moving through the questions. Mark the answers that concern you, but just keep moving. So question number 1, have you ever sold a house with a realtor? If so, how did it go? And this, if they sold a house with another realtor and it didn't go well, you just hit the jackpot. This is a great chance for you to be curious and for you to ask question after question after question and get more information out of them about their expectations, about how it went wrong with the other realtor, and it allows you to listen. So just listen and write. So here's some of the responses that I've received. We listed our house with this realtor, and he never showed the house. It was all these other realtors that came in, from all these other companies, but our realtor never showed the house. All right, so write that down. Never showed the house. Their realtor never showed the house. Then after you go through all the questions and it's a chance for you to address things, this is a great question to come back, or great answer, to come back to and address. Because this is a chance for you to explain that this is actually quite common, that most buyers today hire a buyer's agent. And when they hire a buyer's agent, that means that there's not a lot of buyers out there that are unrepresented. And so we're going to bring our buyers through that match this criteria. But you got to think of the numbers of buyers out there and the number of buyers agents that are representing those buyers. That's who's going to come through your house. So the truth is about 1 out of 5 times the house is going to be showed by us. We would love to improve that, and we work on improving that by doing this for the marketing and doing that for the marketing and talking about all those details. But just know that that's quite common. And so there you go. You don't want to make that same mistake. You don't want the seller to get disappointed again. So another response is, I always had to call for updates. I just never heard from my agent. All right, so you write that down, and then later on when there's a chance for dialogue, then you say, okay, you mentioned before that your agent just never followed up with you and you never heard from them. What would you like us to do? How would you like me to respond to you? And then maybe you talk a little bit about your communication plan and the things that you do, but you just want to go over that with them to make sure that it's not another letdown. See, by having this information, what my point is here is by having the information that the seller is giving you in these answers, it allows you to address them so that they're not disappointed again. Because a lot of the things that disappointed them with the last agent are the same exact things that you do. And you have a reason why you do them, and you never are heard to why you do them after you do them. So you want to address them before. And so you want to give them the reason why you do it, or you want to make sure that you don't do the same thing and you address how you will operate and make sure that they're okay with that. If I have a seller that wants me to call them every day to give them an update, I'm just not going to be their agent. I'm sorry. I just can't do that in my business. I can't call you every day. I can commit to calling you once or twice a week. I can commit to calling you when I have a hot buyer on the line. I can commit to calling you, obviously, when we're in negotiations and working together, but I can't commit to calling you every day to tell you, to give you updates. So you want to set those expectations to make sure that there's never a letdown. It just makes your transaction go so much smoother. I also have heard, they only did one open house. I wanted them to do more open houses, and they only did one open house. So then you could talk about open houses. You can tell them your beliefs on open houses and make sure that they align with you, right or wrong. We all have different opinions on open houses. So you can tell them what you think about open houses and how you go about doing it, and make sure that that's okay with them. All right. Question number 2 is another one that I want to talk about. Again, if you want all of these questions, I think there's 15 questions. So if you want all 15 questions, again, just text the word listing to 44222, and the system will just automatically respond to it with those questions with a video. And it's a pretty slick little setup. Again, thanks to Nightberry Title, and I'm excited to have this new little tool. So again, number 2, I also wanted to talk about this one. What do you envision happening during the sales process? Do you think it's going to be easy or hard to sell the house? Just kind of gauge the process here. I want to get an idea of how quick they think this is going to go. And if they think it's going to be really easy, and you disagree, like you've looked at the stats and it's gonna take like 90 days to sell this house if we're lucky, right? Like you just don't agree that it's gonna be easy. You want to make sure you address that with them before you take the listing. You want them to see the days in the market. You want them to see the same facts that you're looking at, so that there's not this huge letdown when they think it's gonna take a week to sell and it takes 3 months to sell. Right? So you just want to really address that. And on the flip side, if they think it's going to be hard, but you think it's going to be easy, you want to give them the confidence that you're going to get the job done, that as a team, we can do this. So that I like that question, because it kind of, you just want to make sure you align, right? Number 3, how far or close do you think the first offer will be to the list price? The reason I love this question, and it's kind of a confusing one, but the reason I love it is because they will start to talk about pricing. And when forming a price on a house, some sellers kind of keep what they think the house is worth. They kind of keep that quiet. And so this question starts to bring that out of them. You start talking about, what's your expectation? If we list at $200,000, what do you think that first offer will come in at? And so it's a good question. It really is. And it starts to uncover some of what they're thinking. So I want to skip forward. Let's see. Let's talk about questions 4, 5, and 6. This is where I talk about building a Sunday. So I asked them, what's the most important thing about the transaction? Or most important thing what do you expect from me? What's one of the most important things that you expect from me in this transaction? And they'll say communication, so important. We just want to hear from you. Communication is so important. And I say, okay, so communication is the ice cream. What's the sundae look, or what's the chocolate syrup look like? And then they'll tell me another thing that's important to them. And then what's the cherry on top? What's the third thing that's so important to you in this transaction? Then I ask after that, I say, is there something that we haven't covered that's really important to you, or an expectation that you have that we just haven't discussed yet? So I feel like by asking a series of questions like this, it really makes them think what's important to them. They really start to slow down because they're building this ice cream sundae with you. And it's almost asking the same question 4 times. And I love it. It really, they get communication, they get the ice cream down, and then they're thinking about the chocolate syrup, and then they're really thinking about the cherry on the top. And sometimes you almost have to help them think of a cherry on top. And then you ask them again, is there anything that we haven't covered? And so it really makes you're really pulling that out of them. Your curiosity in them and what they're thinking just shines right through, and it's really, really powerful. And then question number 8, I also want to just touch on this real quick, and then I'm going to skip forward to question number 12. Question number 8 is, since this is a team effort, what do you see what do you see as your role in the process? And this is good because sometimes sellers will say, I don't have to do anything. I'm going to be here for the showings. And like some crazy answers come out here. And then on the flip side, if you're looking around as you're sitting at the kitchen table and the house is really messy, and this is when they'll start to say, oh, I know I got to clean. I know I got to paint. I know I need to get new carpeting in there. So they start telling you all of the things that they know they have to do, so that you don't have to break the news to them or act like you know it all and they know nothing. So it gives them an opportunity to feel like they know what they're doing as well. And that's important in teamwork, right? In leadership, you want to make sure that your client feels that they're no dummy. And so I really love that question, and it just makes your job easier when it comes around to offering a suggestion of what they should do. And now let's move to question number 12, and this is, how honest can I be with you? And on a scale of 0 to 10, if it's not a 10, if I can't be brutally honest with you, I don't think we should work together. And this question just sticks. I don't know what it is, but they'll bring this up time and time again throughout the process. And remember, Neil, we told you you can be completely honest with us. Whenever they ask for your opinion, they want it now because they've given you permission to be honest. And so you ask this question, they'll answer it. I want you to be completely honest. Then when you go do the tour of the house, now you can tell them that the house stinks. That this room needs new carpeting, that this room really needs to be painted, or oh my, you've got to completely declutter this space. So they get it. They're okay with you telling them that, and you're never going to insult them. If you don't have their permission to be honest with them, and you tell them that this room smells and that this room needs to be decluttered, you're going to insult them, and they're not going to want to hire you. So you really have to get their permission to be completely honest. And this is why you want to sit at the kitchen table first. You don't want to go tour the house and then insult them and then go sit at the kitchen table. You want to get their permission, then go tour the house, and then you won't insult them. So it's really, really important that you sit at the kitchen table, you ask these questions. I can't say that enough. And I also want to remind you, do not create dialogue with these questions. So important. Make sure that you ask the questions and you just listen. Write down their answers and then go back and address them. Continue to be curious. Continue to ask more questions when they answer some way, they answer in a way that you're like, there's another question there. I'm a little concerned about how they answered that. Go back and ask them again and talk all of that through before you decide to list with them and before they decide to list with you. So it's really worked well for me. Again, if you haven't seen this and you want this 12-minute video with the questions, just text the word listing to 44222. And next week is going to be, I'm excited about the next 2 episodes. Next week, I'm going to talk about Snapchat. And if you've been listening, or maybe even following me on Snapchat, you've noticed that I've just fallen in love with this platform. And I love it. And I cannot wait for next week to share with you all of the things, the things that I've discovered and why I'm so excited about this new platform when really there's hardly any realtors using it. I want to talk about it. So next week is on Snapchat, and then the following week I have 6 agents that are all across the country that are using Snapchat. and they're doing it really well, and they're all great people, and I'm going to interview them. It's going to be a longer episode. We're going to do a round table. I'll be a total of 6 agents and myself talking about Snapchat. So it should be a great episode. I'm going to ask them questions like, how are you using it as a realtor, and what do you suggest, and why Snapchat? Isn't this something for kids, and why should we be using this as realtors? So it should be a great episode. That's going to be coming up in 2 weeks. So next week is just going to be me talking about Snapchat, and then the following week is going to be the Snap Pack. We'll call it #Snap Pack is going to be in full effect in a couple weeks. So be looking forward to that. Also, again, I want to sincerely thank Nightberry Title. So I really, really want to thank Nightberry Title. This episode of Onion Juice Podcast is sponsored by our friends over at Nightberry Title. If you have a buyer or seller who needs information on title or closing process, feel free to send them to nightberry.com. And we're so happy to have them as a sponsor. I mean, really, folks, I really want to take Onion Juice Podcast to the next level, and without their sponsorship, I just couldn't do it. And so a couple weeks ago, I told you that I think I'm in the works. Something's on the works. Somebody wants to back the show, and finally it came together. I gotta be humble here. We're on episode 21. And I didn't think that anybody would even listen until I get up to episode 100. So to have somebody back the show at episode 21 is humbling, and they love what we're doing here. They love the ideas that we're sharing and challenging the status quo and doing things different. And they really want to get behind that. So again, thank you so much, Nightberry Title, for hopping on board and helping us out and sponsoring the show. So again, thank you everybody for listening. This has been episode number 21. I look forward to episode 22 next week with Snapchat, and 23 coming up with the Snap Pack. Should be good stuff. So again, thank you everybody for listening. Hope you have a great day. And like always, remember to be the reason somebody smiles today.